So let's get into our topic today. Topic today, we want to talk about the 5 things to consider to maximize profits. Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Curtis A. Merriweather Jr. In 2020, I was named a game changer by the White House Policy Advisor for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And today, I want to serve as your government contracting coach. Now, the goal of this channel is to help entrepreneurs and business leaders in general just overcome uh, business challenges. Now, many people know me from government contracting, but I'm just a business professional um, at large, playing several different spaces. However, we want to make sure that you're able to overcome and navigate business challenges, especially within the government contracting space. And one of the ways we do that is through education, consultation, and training support. And most of our classes are built in with coaching and or mentoring support. That's baked into the course offering, so you get that at no additional charge. Now, if you want to learn more about the offerings that we have, go to eightfiguregovcon.com. Browse through the site. There's a lot of information there, and I would love to be serve as your future coach and or mentor in this space. But we're unlike many others because we have 26 years of progressive experience. Many of you know I started out as a government contractor in high school. I've been doing this for quite some time now. Gotten MBAs and almost a PhD in business management. So we take the theoretical and the practical, and we put it together in a way in which you can implement and execute to maximize profitability in your business, both legally, ethically, and in compliance with the federal acquisition regulation known as the FAR. So that's just kind of who we are in a nutshell. Now, until January 31st, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can use our coupon code, which is govcon 2023, to receive a 20% discount on anything in our course library. And you can go to the URL on the screen, and that will take you directly to our course store along with a product description in each course, so you can kind of get an idea of what it is that you're going to be learning in that module, so you can get a better understanding and appreciation of what you're purchasing before you get started. But I often get the question, hey, I'm brand new to government contracting. Which module or which course should I be looking at for my newbies? Brand new to the space. I recommend the 8-Figure GovCon Mastery 5X bundle. It's going to take you from beginning to end and make you dangerous. It's going to give you a strong foundation. Then, of course, you're going to have access to me. There's 2 payment options there. You can pay it all at once, or you can have 4 different payment terms. So take a look at that, and I look forward to potentially mentoring you in this space so you can obtain some success. As many as you guys know, government contracting changed my life, and I know it can for you too. However, you got to make sure you have a strategy, an actionable strategy to navigate the process from end to end. Okay, enough about that. Now, we're going to talk about the 5 things to consider to maximize profit. Now, this came as a result of a lot of the questions and comments that I've been getting from you guys. And so I wanted to address several of those concerns in one video, because some of you guys load me up with questions, which I don't mind at all. This channel is dedicated to you guys to help you navigate the business terrain, but specifically the government contracting terrain. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a newsflash. You're gonna see some additional content come from us in some different spaces as the year progresses. So this is an overall business channel, but for right now, we're focusing on government contracting. You're gonna see real estate, you're gonna see private equity, you're gonna see a bunch of different stuff come out of this space. Government contracting paved the way for me to play in some of these different spaces. So what I want you guys to do is get your money up and then look for ways to diversify your businesses. But enough about that. Let's get into what I want to talk about. But before I get into my topic, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel so that you can continue getting actionable tools, tips, techniques, and strategies that's going to help accelerate your business journey, including government contracting. So let's get into our topic today. Topic today, we want to talk about the 5 things to consider to maximize profits. All right, now, our very first one that we want to talk about, and I don't hear enough being said about this, is you got to establish a competitive advantage. Competitive advantage is a big fancy way of saying, out of all the businesses in the world, why should the customer, whether that's a federal agency, whether that's a commercial entity, whether that's a prime contractor, whoever your customer may be, why should they do business with you? And this is not talked about enough. So many think it's just enough to go onto sam.gov contract opportunities and look for contract opportunities. You're being very reactive. I want to encourage you to be more proactive. Now, can you make money doing that? Absolutely. But it's very hard to sustain that tempo because you're not developing deep roots within any organization. If you go and you look at most of the successful companies, they started off with one customer and then they got customer number 2, but they were not just chasing a bunch of different opportunities because it looked like easy money. They chased an opportunity because it was going to help them to grow and build a solid financial future based on track record. Your customers don't want to see. I often see new business owners when I meet them. They have a business card, and you look at it. They have 5 different businesses, and they're not related. And it's a little bit of a turnoff because it says that you're not focused. So, what is the 1 or 2 or maybe 3 things that you do better than anybody else? And how do you put a marketing message around that? And in that, like for example, you go to Starbucks. Starbucks has coffees, they have teas, and they got pastries, but everything is centered around food. So if you come, so everything that they put in that offering makes sense and is a complimentary service. But I run into businesses oftentimes where the things they're chasing doesn't have a logical or rational reason for being there. They did it for no other reason than they thought they could make a quick buck. However, when you do that, you're communicating a message to potential customers that you don't have a direct focus. You're not focused. And there's a bunch of opportunities you can chase, whether that's as a business, general business, not government contracting specific, or in government contracting. But the past performance says a lot about your organization. So have you developed a solid foundation in 1 or 2 things that the government knows when they procure services from you or product from you that you're going to be best in class? And I don't think this is something that a lot of people are talking about, and it needs to be discussed. So when we talk about competitive advantage, I need you to think about, how are you going to win? Are you going to win based on being low cost? That's a strategy, but it's not what I hope you want to build. You want to build your business based on being differentiated, based on being unique, based on being best in class. And this is not something I'm hearing. And then where are you going to play? Are you going to compete in a niche sector of the market? Or are you going to compete in a very broad sector of the market? And based on your competitive advantage, it's going to determine your marketing strategy, your proposal strategy, and just your overall value strategy that you're presenting to the customer. Now, this value has to be communicated in customer needs. What is it the customer needs from you? What is it that the marketplace is offering already? And then what is your value? When you can identify those things, you're going to be better positioned to communicate your value to the marketplace. What is it that you're offering? What problem are you solving? Number 1. Number 2, so once you've identified the problem that you're solving, number 2, what is the product or service solution that solves that problem? And then number 3, why you? Why should the customer pick you out of all the business in the world? Can you communicate that? Now, if you're able to communicate this, you're going to develop market, you're going to increase your market share. Now, if this is still a little hazy, your sales are going to suffer because they're not going to be as large as they could be. When I say sales suffering, it doesn't mean that you're not going to make money. It means you're not optimizing the value that you have. I'm just saying. But I'm moving on. Number 2, and I see that my words got chopped up a little bit, program management. Now, I've been hearing some definitions of program management lately. Oh, it's just, coordinating, scheduling, and, that's all program management is. Is that true? Yes. but it's a very scaled down and overly simplified definition of what program management is. I get people all the time in my messages saying, "Hey, I want a contract now. What do I do?" Well, if you had an RFP that you responded to, and I did a video on proposals, which I'll link to the end of this video. In most RFPs, there's typically a technical approach, meaning how do you plan to solve this problem? There's typically a management approach. And in the management approach, you talk about how you're going to manage the opportunity. How are you going to handle talent acquisition and recruitment? How are you going to manage risk? So the things that are outlined in the RFP, this is why it's not just good to take someone else's proposal and say, I'm going to submit this, because you need to have an understanding of what it is that you're telling the government. A proposal is a plan for, if I win this contract, this is how I plan to execute on the technical aspects of the contract. This is how I plan to execute the business. This is how I plan to manage the opportunities that come as a result of this opportunity. So program management or project management, when I talk about program, I'm talking about a collection of projects, a collection of contracts and or task orders. Program management will either grow or kill your contract. Let me say this one more time. Your program management will either grow or kill your contract. What am I saying? Contracts are increase in value through great program management, or contracts are lost in government contracting through program management. What does that look like, a lost contract? That means I priced this poorly and I'm going to have to give you this contract back. I've been hearing way more people than I'm comfortable with telling me, hey, I want to give this contract back to the federal government. I said, what are you doing? You can't give a contract back to the federal government. That's called a contract termination. And what you don't want is a contract for default. A contract for default is a black eye in your government contracting journey. And if you're a prime contractor and you get a default, it could lead to a suspension, a debarment, and potential civil and criminal penalties. This is a no-no. We do not walk away from contracts. We don't do this. You should be growing opportunities. So when people tell me, oh, it's just, program management is 51% of the, management is the 51% of the work, especially you find these folks who want to just do these, I'm not even going to talk about it today. I'm going to leave it alone. But I'm going to say this. You have to manage the 5 phases of the program management lifecycle. You say, Kurt, what are you talking about? You got to initiate. Hopefully this was done pre-contract award. You have to initiate. You got to plan. You got to execute, monitor, control, and close out the contract. Those are the 5 phases. And there's a whole bunch of sub phases in those 5 primary phases. And you need the management across 10 process areas. It matters where you get your education from. You got 5 phases. You got to initiate. You got to plan. You got to execute, monitor, and control, and contract closeout. I could spend a whole video just talking about program management, but we don't have time today. And then you got at least 10 phases, depending on if you subscribe to PMBOK versions 6 or 5, 6, or whatever the latest version is. You got cost management has to be managed, HR, procurement management, stakeholder engagement. There's a lot to this. This is not just you winning a contract and you sitting by collecting a check. It's not just limited to submitting an invoice. It's way deeper than that. And if you think that's the case, this might not be the space for you. We don't just submit contracts and collect checks. Someone is doing some work somewhere. And what about creating corporate culture? Why do employees want to work for you? How do you manage, if you do have subs, how do you manage your subs? Do you have a vendor management system in place? Do you have an accounting system? Do you understand your cost pools? Do you know if you're making or losing money? What are your actuals versus your forecasted value? I'm just saying. So this is not a game. I take this stuff very seriously. So when people try to minimize the art and the science that goes into government contracting, I get a little annoyed. But let's keep moving. These are the things I see. Poor teaming agreements. I hear subs telling people, well, I'm gonna give them my teaming agreement. Now here's the truth. When you are the prime, you do give the subs your teaming agreement. But has your teaming agreement been vetted properly by a government contracts accountant? This is designed to help you to initiate the, the rules of engagement to work with you. Are you including in the TA any kind of work share? How much work share are you either receiving as a sub? Now, this is provided you did what I said in step one, which is understanding your competitive landscape and communicating that, and then of course making sure your contractual agreements on alignment with that in terms of work share allocations. What are you requiring? If you're doing a proposal, are you requiring your prime or your subs to support the proposal effort? Is it gonna, what does the engagement look like? Again, this is another video I could spend a whole hour on. But the prime initiates the teaming agreement. Okay. And the TA establishes the rules of engagement for a contract pursuit. And I cannot stress this enough, especially for my subcontractors. If you're a prime, then of course, hopefully you've done your due diligence and you have a very strong, solid document. If you're a subcontractor, make sure someone who's familiar with the space, a government contracts attorney, understands this space and help you with your agreements and any necessary carve-outs or work shares to make sure that those things are enforceable. You got to make sure. See, the thing with attorneys want to make sure that whatever side of the table is getting the best deal. So the prime's attorney is working in their favor. Your attorney is working in your favor. The prime is not going to get everything they want unless the sub who signed it doesn't know any better. And the sub is not going to get everything they want because hopefully the prime is doing the things that I'm teaching you guys to do in this course. But they have to come to a negotiation and make a document that's not only protects them, but that it's also enforceable and actionable. Can we actually get something done? If not, we're going to stalemate and no deal is going to get done. But you got to make sure you have a document that you can actually enforce and do something with. Enough of that. The subcontracting agreement. You want to make sure that the things that you pre-negotiated, subcontractor, the things that you've negotiated in your teaming agreement, you want to make sure they are transferred to the subcontract agreement. This is sometimes when you see the bait and switch happens. And this is on the prime and sub. And I know I got a diverse audience. I got some that are prime, some that are subs. So I try to speak in a way where I cover both sides of the ball field. But this is where a bait and switch occurs. The prime did whatever they said they had to do to get you to sign up and participate in the proposals and the past performance submissions and everything that goes into putting together a great, formidable response. But the bait and switch sometimes happens between the teaming agreement and the subcontract agreement. You got this work share carve out, and all of a sudden it disappears from the sub K. Sub K is the acronym for subcontract agreement. We call it a sub K. So just go, if I say it, I'm talking about the subcontract agreement. You'll see things like the best athlete approach. So if you have a carve out, you got a work share allocation. Sometimes that work share allocation may be diminished when you take into consideration the best athlete approach, which basically says, I'm going to hire the best person for the job, which may not come from your team, which may diminish the value of your work share carve out. Say you were promised 10% of the work or 15% of the work or 20% of the work, whatever it was, based on the value, that competitive advantage that you bring to the team that helped them win. You want to make sure those things are enforced. You need to understand the clauses and have a plan to mitigate the funny business. So one of the ways you do this, that funny business I'm talking about is the retroactive rates and making sure you have contract diversification, making sure you're not beholden to one or two companies, but that you spread the risk. Now, this is difficult to do when you first get started, but over time, you should make sure you have contract diversification. And in my previous videos, I talked about those retroactive rates. So I'm not going to go back down that rabbit trail today. Number 4, pricing. Oh my God. I did a whole video on pricing, and horrible pricing will create future problems for you. It's not a matter of if, it will create. You'll see new businesses having to go back to the federal government and ask for rate modifications. This is not a standard practice that you want to submit to. It's just horrible strategy. But it's often associated with not understanding the contract risk type and the risk associated with them, and just not understanding pricing. I did a video, which I'll link here at the end, on pricing strategy, making sure you have your cost pools properly structured. Do you have a wrap rate, or is your costing strategy purely based on looking at the historical record in one of the market intelligence tools, looking at what the last contract was priced at and basing your price on that? That is a flawed approach if you don't understand your wrap rate. And then number two, is it based on going out and getting 3 quotes from potential subs? Again, flawed pricing strategy. Do you understand a wrap rate? Do you understand your costs? What's your direct labor? What's your overhead, G&A, French pools, and profit pools? And should this be a contract you should let go? Because if you get it, it's going to create problems for you downstream. What about warranty provisions? I'm just saying, I've heard so many nightmares as a result to just not following some of the basic core tenets of government contracting, not really appreciating the art and the science that goes into this. Because let me tell you this, if you haven't invested in the art and science, I can guarantee you that these large businesses you're trying to subcontract to, or these businesses who have been in business for longer than you got into this a year ago, and now you're going, you signed up for some course and you're going to implement it. The folks that you are subbing to understand this, and they will set you up for the okie doke because you don't know and take your contract from you. This happens. This is real. They fail to capture. They fail to, because you don't understand the pricing. Many businesses fail to capture the management reserves and other pricing considerations within their pricing structure to guarantee better success. Do you have a management reserve in your pricing? You know what? Every time I talk about this, I could go down another rabbit hole. I'm gonna keep moving. Escalation. We do not wait on the federal government to raise the price of our contract at escalation. That should be something that was placed on your contract when the pricing worksheet was submitted. Do not leave this to fate. It is not the government's business to help you to put together a pricing sheet. It is not the government's responsibility to make sure you get your rate allocation, your escalation increase every year because it wasn't in your pricing worksheet. This is a horrible strategy. You should be basing a 3 to 5% escalation in your pricing. Now, sometimes companies don't do it because they want, the competition is fierce and they baked in enough profitability that they don't need it. But what I'm seeing in the market is there's companies who need that 3 to 5% escalation and not asking for it. And then they're pricing so, let me go back one. They're pricing so low that if anything, and it's in every contract, it's not a matter of if or something happens, it's a matter of when. Every contract, I don't care how great the contract is, we got people involved, there's product, there's other companies involved. It's a matter of when something happens. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. This is not speaking ill will. This is why we need effective program management to mitigate the risk. To mitigate the risk. Risk will occur. Driving your car down the road has risk. Flying in an airplane has risk. Doing business is fraught with risk. I'm just saying. So my last one is risk management. Failure to understand how my pricing and how do I manage my risk based on contract type. We do not leave these things to fate. You got to understand there's a such thing as risk acceptance. It's a risk that I just can't change. Can I avoid the risk? What can I do to sidestep the risk? Can I mitigate the risk? When the risk occurs, how do I lessen the effects of it? Can I transfer the risk to someone else? These are the things we need to be thinking about, and not enough people are talking about it. People just want to tell you about the money that they made, which is great, but are you maintaining the contracts you've won? How are you doing that? And if your coach can't tell you how to do program management and understand the risk types and the associated risk inherent to them, because the government knows and there's an expectation that please run. Please run. I get so many messages with people that are being hurt based on these flawed approaches. So I'm never going to stop anyone's bag. I'm never going to call names. It's just not what I do. But what I am saying is be careful out here. Be careful out here. Everything that, like my grandmother used to say, everything that glitters is not gold. So understand the difference between great marketing and great education. Oftentimes, they're not the same. But those are the 5 things that I wanted to share with you guys today. I didn't even talk about risk traceability metrics and risk registers. These are some tools you can use to manage your risk. But that's enough for today. I'm sure you guys get the point. I'm going to link some videos in here that I think you should watch. They will further expound on some of the things I mentioned. I only have a few minutes with you guys in these videos, so I can't just talk for 8 hours. Although in our course, we have hours upon hours. I think more than 20 plus hours of just content, not including the Zooms. So there's a lot that comes into this. Government contracting is not hard. It's not. However, you need to know the rules of engagement and know how to play the game effectively. And I'm finding far too many people caught flat-footed and just don't know. And here's the reality. When it goes down, you're going to have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet yourself. I can help you. Maybe the coach you're dealing with can help you, but you need to find some source or resources that can help you, because it's not a matter of if something happens. It's just a matter of when. This is not a bad confession. This is not me speaking evil. In business, we have to navigate problems. He who solves problems gets paid. But that's my time for today. I hope this video was impactful for you, and I hope it stirs some thought and will push you in the right direction to go seek the knowledge that you need to find success in business, whether that's government contracting, whether that's software development, whatever sphere of the business or whatever sector of business you may be in. I want you to be successful, but you have to go seek the knowledge, the expertise, and the training that's going to push you toward your destiny. But that's all the time I got for today. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, if you haven't already, subscribe, share, and like. Please subscribe, share, and like, and I'll see you in the future video. Until next time.